Welcome back, everybody. That was a hell of a series. Long, dramatic, each game very different from the other one.
Yeah, I really like what Rogue brought to the table. He used that 1 week off to really do some serious prep for his opponent, GuMiho. I'm right there with you. That feels like an upset, especially with the current state of Battle Mech and how well GuMiho's been able to execute those builds versus Zerg's, not just in GSL, but other tournaments around the world. And
it does feel like GuMiho's been going more and more and more mech.
Yeah.
In the last, few days of GSL. He was always willing to oscillate between bio and mech, but I wonder if he's leaned so hard into that he's maybe not as strong in that bio style. I mean, it really is a completely different matchup depending on which tech route you take.
Yeah, it feels like I don't want to read too much into it, but it almost feels like he's been playing mech so much that it's to a detriment of his bio play.
Yeah, that was kind of my takeaway there. And Rogue, he's always been so good at that style. The classic TVZ bio medevac, pushing play style that the game looks so different in that GuMiho couldn't even really get out on the map. And the moment he did, he was counterattacked, he was whittled down so much, and then he was ultimately surrounded. But yeah, I'm wondering if we're going to see more mech and less of that here from GuMiho. I don't blame him for trying something different. I think that's kind of how you have to approach a best of 3. You're never going to be the best when you just do the same build over and over and over again against a good player. They're going to make the adjustments they need to make to beat you. So you have to be kind of randomizing your build order selection. But definitely drew a build and a play style that Rogue was able to punish.
Yeah, even in game number 1, though, when GuMiho went for mech, he did it a little bit differently than we've seen him do in the GSL before. He went the double factory siege tank super early on. So both players really using that 1 week to their advantage in terms of preparation here.
Yeah.
It's exciting to see the preparation, and these kind of carefully crafted builds have always been one of my favorite parts of GSL. It's something that we don't really get too much of a glimpse into right now because everything has to be so fast-paced this year leading in EWC. But the way that Rogue was looking in that first series, now that he's in the winner's match, I'm really liking his chances of making it to the playoffs this season.
Well, he's got a lot more at stake right now. So he really needs these wins here. Coming up, we're going to be going to Maru versus Solar. Maru's had some real highs already in the few months of StarCraft 2 that we've had this year, but he's had some lows as well. He has had some issues with his wrists. He was taking some time off. Granted, some of the players are just taking time off because there wasn't StarCraft 2 in season, but wrist issues, that's always a little scary as you're moving through a competitive season like this. And sometimes wrist issues will make players try to play shorter games or take more risks just so that there's less game to go through, so to speak.
Or play Protoss.
Or play Protoss and lose terribly. There's always that. Yeah, that game where he picked Protoss was weird.
Yeah, I know we've talked about it every single day we've seen
Maru
Maru
so
since then.
He's going to play Protoss. What's he going to do? He's going to lose.
We can't all be Clem.
Well, it just goes to show you there's so much work that goes into each race and each matchup that he was making moves where it's like, the other Protosses wouldn't make that mistake.
Yeah. I think it actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was a rule with GSL in the past that you had to stick to one race the entire season, and I believe it was Raynor.
It was actually from the original Star Leagues.
I see.
In the early days, the OSL, MSL was the idea was there was a lot of race picking or requested race picking, and they kind of went, we can't have that because they were trying to, at the time, build the brands around the players. Just like, you think of Jaedong, you think of Zerg, right? You don't go, Jaedong's also really good at TVZ. He probably is. But no, they wanted to kind of force the players to pick a race. And I don't know if that was they had to agree to that every season or they had to, the coaches on the teams made them do it. This was before I got here, but this was sort of explained to me, which honestly, it kind of makes sense. And I think, GSL had something similar. I know we did let people pick random as well. But I think now they just kind of loosen up the rules, with the few days of GSL we have. They're like, you can try this. We don't,
I think it was actually Raynor, when he was first starting to try and play in GSL Code S that kind of was the catalyst that allowed players to start switching races. And I know it didn't work out for Maru, but honestly, I do like it quite a bit. I think it's cool when the top players... I know this is a little bit polarizing with some people.
For me, I think it's better for the sake of the show to have somebody stay with one race. Just I think it's better. And then you do end up with situations where like they'll pick this race, but if you pick that race, then I'm going to pick this race.
Yeah, I think.
And then you can end up with this like circular problem, which we haven't experienced yet. But I know, and this was also just an issue in tournaments when I was younger. Was like we didn't have a rule like that for international tournaments, and so you would have a guy. There were people that would only play like TVZ, ZVP, and PVT, and then you get another guy who does the same thing because a lot of people at the time perceived that as maybe the easier matchup to play.
That makes sense.
And then you would just end up with this thing where they would both. I don't know. It was like
it's like a game of rock paper scissors where they just keep trying to change their hand.
Yeah. Well, it's like, well, if you're going to go rock, then I'm going to go for And so it's had issues.
You can just do like a blind pick. I think that's probably what we do in GSL. I actually don't know. I probably should know this, but in any case, it sounds like our players are finally ready. I believe Solar might have had some kind of headset issue, but
yeah. Well, it looks like we got it sorted. Please fix the cyclone bug.
Yeah. My understanding of the cyclone bug is that there's like some badly coded value that changes. I believe it's the lock-on cooldown is like 50% faster. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but yeah, the Cyclone, as a result, just does a lot more DPS. It's one of the reasons why we're seeing more of it. Even though Battle Mech has always been historically pretty good, it's become a lot more standardized because this existence of this bug has been, I don't know how long it's been. It feels like it's been months and months and months, but yeah, Solar's been very vocal about his opinion on this in the past, and now he's in a group here with GuMiho.
A happy group with no Protoss. Well, don't worry, there's Protoss in your future, my friend.
Yeah, certainly. He makes
this is gonna be a fun one. Yeah, let's see how Maru's gonna play today. If he does survive this, it is just a few days away. We're gonna be in the finals here to this. Again, this is the road to EWC, guys. Rogue fighting for his life right now. It's gonna be Solar versus Maru on ley lines to start this off here, and potentially TVZ all night.
Solar and Maru already booked their ticket via DreamHack Dallas to EWC, so they don't have them on the line, but he always wanted the GSL title. And for Solar, I think he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder going up against Maru, who seems to always have his number here in GSL. Guys, game number 1 is loaded up. Let's get to it.
Okay, Solar in the top right, Maru in the bottom left. And these are two players that tend to bring us very different experiences in the matchup. So this is going to be interesting to see what kind of games they're going to have for us here. This is a map where you're, I think you've got a decent amount of distance as the Zerg from the Terran. And we'll see if Solar can take advantage of that. I do feel like Solar is also very willing to just go punch the Terran in the nose.
Oh yeah.
Early on, if they're going to take a third base. Quick third bases are just very trendy right now in this matchup, and they've always sort of been a thing in StarCraft 2, but I feel like now more than ever, whether it's bio or mech, like people just go for that.
Yeah, we're seeing a bit of a resurgence in the 3cc play, the really fast 3cc play.
From Chile, welcome. That's a long flight.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah. Now, let's see what kind of game they're going to have here. And by the way, Maru, am I wrong about this? I don't feel like he's done mech very much at all. Maybe once or twice?
I actually don't recall. Yeah, maybe once or twice.
It doesn't feel like it just off the top of my head.
So many players have been mixing in Battle Mech that it's hard to keep tabs on who hasn't really been doing it. But I feel like Maru, more than basically anybody, has been doing a lot of bio play. Although even guys like Byun, who traditionally just stick with the Marines and the medevacs in this matchup have been mixing in some Battle Mech given the current state of the game. So we'll see if Maru's going to bust that out here in this series. But for now, it looks like a relatively standard opening here at the barracks on the low ground. Really fast reactor. He is going to build the factory here, but most likely just going to be for the Hellions, although we'll have to wait and see.
So another wall in here, this time with really important infrastructure, with add-ons on the outside. Don't know if Solar's going to do anything with that, but there's a reason why you tend to not see players do this as often on the left side of the map. just because there is, you know, if they could run up there and kill your tech lab and or your reactor, like that's so devastating. And I feel like we saw that more in the past, and then I sort of, in my mind, it happened maybe a little bit less.
The Zerg attacks on that wall, you mean?
Terran would wall in on that side with those with that stuff sticking out there.
I mean, Bjorn kind of brought it back for a while. I remember when he was the only one doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, supply depot down is... For a moment, I thought Solar was going to try and sneak his way into the main base, but no, he's just going to park it down by that. Natural.
You can't hide your Overlord here. Oh, that's
He did get in. those things are like, wait, do I really want this to be my fate?
He actually killed the Overlord, too.
Yeah, nice start here. And by the way, Armory going down. Now, he's doing this in the sightline of these Lings. I wonder to what extent this is him just kind of feeding some bad information to Solar and how much is him actually wanting to use this Armory. It's a lot of idle time already. That Armory's halfway done, so he's not going to cancel it. Huh.
Okay, Marine's going to come up here. And, you know, this may be ill-advised because these Marines can't get away without a medevac.
But with Hellbats able to morph in now, kind of an interesting little push here with 4 Marines and 4 Hellbats.
This is such a funny-looking attack here. But, you know, the Queens can kite this, right? So, like, as long as Lings are going to hatch here, will he be okay?
Wow, some pretty good splash damage hits, though, with those Hellbats. I think the goal here for Maru is trying to very slowly retreat off creep.
Yeah, this is the thing, is this can't really run away.
Yeah, but also the Lings can't really get a surround on it either because of the Hellbats. It's a very funny interaction. Whoa! Look at this, 2 more factories here for Maru. He's doing it. He's going mech.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were going to see this at all here. And we may be seeing some kind of a big seismic shift in the whole TVZ meta. This may become very thematic in EWC.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's just, you know, as long as Cyclones are this strong, or as long as, you know, we're seeing mech, not so much hinged on one big push, but just sort of a kind of growth-oriented map acquiring mech. Yeah, I mean, maybe this is the new way to approach the matchup.
Especially in terms of macro, because it kind of sidesteps the Ghost nerf a bit, right? You don't really need to mix in the Ghost, which now costs 3 supply.
Now, he saw Stim being upgraded there at the tech lab. So it may, and that may just be a red herring as far as the tech goes, where he just wants to show Stim so that you think this is a bio game, when in reality, this is going to be a completely different composition. And look, that may be one of these moments where Solar scouts that, and he's just going to get punished. And it's going to be, by the way, this is what I kind of thought we were going to have GuMiho do more of, this sort of mobile harass, you know, chisel you down, bleed you out mech style.
Yeah, Cyclone's already in production. Solar is building some roaches back at home, 7 more being queued up right now, but he's already happily on 60 drones, so he can fully saturate these 3 bases as long as he stays on about 4 gases, and we'll see. Maru is adding in more factories. The Cyclones have not been revealed yet to Solar, and especially now with the Hellions exerting a lot of map control, it's going to be a little bit before Solar's able to figure out exactly what composition Maru is going for. And I love also Maru keeping just the extra Hellions back at home as well. And just showing these initial 4 or 5 Hellions on the map. But I think now that Solar's coming in, and especially when he sees these additional factory,
well, he just keeps seeing Hellions too, right? It's like, you know, are you going to switch into anything else? Now, Solar's grown pretty well on the map here. The Hellions are just going to try to come through here. Some of these creep pavement patterns that are just sort of stretching out with 1 tumor at a time, they get really badly punished by Hellions because, you know, creep dissipates pretty fast now, so they can run in there, kill those tumors, and run right back out. And it's a pretty big reset. And remember that, you know, when you get the Cyclones, what you do is you, like, target stuff, run away when they attack you. When they run, you follow them. And so actually having the creep not spread on the map makes this so much stronger. So the secret is out, right? Clearly there was no stim upgrade that was going to finish. There's no bio in this composition. And roaches, I mean, their range is so painfully short that there's really just not a lot that Solar can do right now. And so this is probably going to be one game where the 4th base is going to be denied. I mean, the Queen especially being off of creep is so painful to see.
Yeah, so many units just getting shaved away here by the Cyclones. Some really nice micro by Maru. Hatchery is going to complete. That's going to extend the creep spread a little bit, but I think not enough for Solar to really get on top of this army. And it's one of the difficulties of this composition, too. It's just the micro potential here for Terran is massive. And as Solar, unless you already preemptively had a ton of Lings, actually hold that thought, as Roach is now coming into the third base here of Maru. Solar continuing to press the front too above this. He might actually be looking to get a surround on this mech. Oh, Maru sleeping a little bit right there on the micro. Solar forcing some mistakes with this high pressure play, trying to get the surround. A lot of SCVs falling. Cyclone's also going down. He's rebuilding the fourth hatchery as well. A little bit of tit for tat here for Solar.
Okay, he's going to force the lift up on the command center. But, you know, the Zerg Army's not getting maybe as much done. I mean, over time, I guess the question is how much more value can you get out of this? It feels like the Army's starting to get smaller and smaller. But, you know, when the CC lifted off, right, you're also not mining from there. So this is kind of a funny interaction. Oh, the tank on the outside getting stuck behind the Hellion.
Yeah, for Solar, I don't think there's any kill potential with this, but unseating the third base here from Maru, killing all of those SCVs, getting the Cyclones and Hellions off their back as well, and being able to secure this fourth base safely.
It's kind of a funny game because the fourth base was denied for the Zerg, and the third command center, like you said, was unseated for Maru. So, like, oh, okay, he's going to back right back out with that. But, yeah, I mean, neither player is really getting to where they need to be as far as developing and getting an economy, and we've switched into tanks. So tanks give you a lot more sustain in these positions, unlike just having Cyclones, because eventually if they chase you into where your command center is, you can't run away without having to lift your CC off. So he's going to try to come in here now, and I mean, we're seeing a lot of units get shelled here. 2 tanks were killed, but a lot of Roaches and Ravagers were taken out. And we have 4 Swarm Hosts, and I think this is super smart. Because he's basically saying, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get my Swarm Hosts out here, and I'm going to just target your tanks down, and we're going to go right back into it. That's actually a way that Solar could just win this game.
Yeah, 11 Swarm Hosts in production. I love this move coming out from Solar. Behind it also, he's been able to revitalize his creep spread, extending his tendrils across the map. And so Solar now sitting at 73 workers with that fourth base, with these Swarm Hosts coming in. It's going to have a lot of aggressive potential, but Maru trying to find some damage. These Blue Flame Hellions coming into this mineral line. Only able to get a couple of drones thus far, although they do get lined up. Honestly, could have been a lot worse there for Solar, is what, 7, 8 drones going to fall? Some fancy micro, only going to be 7. And Maru, right now, his production has been so reset, I feel like it's going to be challenging for him to deal with the wave of Locusts coming in, distributing the spread of damage on those siege tanks, and then the Roaches just flooding on top of everything.
Yeah, and he needs to go for the tanks. You do not want to go for the Cyclones. I think that's exactly what he's going to do. So he's just getting the right targeting in over here. He's going to come in here and hit that so hard. Somehow he only gets 2 tanks. I kind of believed this was going to be more powerful than it was. But, you know, when the Swarm Hosts, excuse me, are going to come in again and again and again, if the tank count starts to drop to like 2 or even 0, that's where you can just start to Roach Ravager your way back in there and do a lot.
Although we do have Hyperflight Rotor Banshees coming onto the field pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, and that would be a really good counter to this. Gosh, you really can see there's just not a lot you can do when you're trying to fight the Cyclones like that.
Oh wait, look at the units tab. There's no Banshee. Maybe that's servos. I always get those upgrades confused.
Oh, okay.
In any case, more Swarm Hosts coming in right now. For Maru, you got to be really careful not to have the siege tanks fire on each other once those units come in. As Solar once again going to be attacking this third base. Maru is also taking a base right behind this, which Solar's going to basically retreat into as he gets pushed back by these tanks. The tank count continuing to get thinned out.
Yeah, it's just one tank right now. It's just one tank. He can just seesaw right down here. I think he almost stumbles upon this expansion here now. Yeah. There should be another wave ready to go. And I mean, if the third base position's broken, I think Solar takes the game. There should be more tanks about to hatch. He's just waiting. Okay, so they've reloaded with their Locusts. He's going to send him out again, and I still see only one tank, right?
Yeah, I think he's just given up on the siege tanks. He knows that they're going to be a target permanently for these Swarm Hosts. So he's relying on the Cyclones and a Hellbat, some nice piles. That siege tank is going to survive until that last pile is able to take it down. I gotta say, Maru doing a really good job of holding on when Solar is just dwarfing him in supply. He's microing these Cyclones so well. I mean, the stutter step has been fantastic. And for Solar, he is basically maxed, but it's on Roaches and Swarm Host. Now the Infestor's coming in. Fungal is gonna catch a couple of those Cyclones, but Maru's been doing a really good job of staying alive. A couple more rounds of Cyclones, unless Solar can whittle this down enough Maru might be able to stabilize. He has more workers in Solar. He's resaturating a 4th base, this time all the way at the 9 o'clock position.
You know, I never appreciated that you can kind of just kite the Locusts. Like, when they're airborne, you know, they have to get, like, just over you enough. And, he's going to come in here and he's going to hit them now. Now, maybe these Swarm Hosts have kind of served their purpose. You know, like, maybe it's almost worth it in some weird way to have the supply freed back up. But you're right, he's kind of fighting out, like, in spite of the crazy supply difference. He's got another command center at the top left. And it looks like it's just so hard for the Zerg to actually come in here and get any damage.
The Hellbats do such a good job of dispersing the Locusts, and the Cyclones just kite everything for days, and even focus firing down. The Infestors there on the right side. Those Biles almost connected on 3 Cyclones, but Maru able to dodge, and he has gotten so much value out of these Cyclones so far. Now, Locust coming in with no Hellbats is going to slow things down a little bit because it's going to force some lock-ons. That's going to open up an opportunity for Solar to once again lift up this 4th base, kill some SCVs, slow down the economy from Maru. Maru, although he has been cost-effective, if Solar can continuously force liftoff to these 4th bases, eventually the main and the natural are going to start mining out.
Exactly.
For Maru, and the Remax potential will no longer be there, especially on 80 SCVs.
You know, it's one of these games where, like, it's funny, it just seems like the Cyclones, you know, there's no way to ever get to them, but yeah, when they have to retreat behind the command center, then you've kind of, you've served your purpose. Now, he's got the Infestors. A Fungal would be so good, and that's exactly what he does. And this actually might be the breaking point. This could be the point where, like, it's just, like you were saying, State, the CCs are going to mine out in the main and the natural, and then, you know, all he has to do is keep these lifted and keep punishing.
Yeah, another small force attacking that base over the 9 o'clock position. 20 SCVs falling, but the Cyclones with this scan getting beautiful connections on those Infestors. I think we have maybe 2 more Fungals, 1 or 2 more Fungals. That's a good one right there on those Cyclones, catching 5 or 6 of them. Unfortunately for Solar, only 1 of them going to fall. Is it going to be enough? These units are so deep in the red. Another volley of Locusts coming in.
He's taking out these SCVs. He's almost there. I mean, it's sort of unreal how long Maru stayed alive, all things considered. But once CC has lost all the SCVs at it, he'll have to risk sending more SCVs there if he wants to take advantage of that. And I don't think Terran really has. Terran has no other way to play their way out of this than to just continue to finesse with the Cyclones. But Zerg is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger here on the map, and they've been, you know, nearly maxed out the whole time. So here goes another base, a whole fresh set of SCVs wiped out.
Yeah, Solar doing a great job of just denying this 4th base repeatedly. You might be taking cost-inefficient trades, but when your opponent doesn't have much of an economy, it doesn't matter all that much. The Solar attacks in once again. That Fungal is going to secure at least 1 or 2 more Cyclone kills. And you can really see that Maru is starting to hurt for Minerals. Down to 1,100 a minute to the 2,800 a minute there for Solar. And he's switching back into Siege Tanks. I think this is a smart move, especially now that the Swarm Hosts have dissipated. But there's just so few Minerals here for Maru that having no Hellbats to accompany them, it's really a challenge, but it's kind of a pick-your-own-poison situation here as Terran. You know, what unit composition, it's always going to have drawbacks because the economy behind it is just so bare bones.
He's going to try to take that floating command center from the previous 4th and try to relocate down here. So Zerg was sweeping through here for maybe another opportunity to punish, and he's going to just follow this down. Now, you know, the infrastructure is actually quite exposed, and he could just, you know, file that down, no problem.
We have 4 Siege Tanks. One of them is going to be sieging up over here.
The
nice Fungal. Hydra's actually getting some good damage done here on the front line. The infrastructure is falling, and GG's called. Maru seemed almost impossible to kill for the longest time, but Solar was finally able to break him down. Boy, did Maru make him work for it, though.
Well, you know, the Cyclone plate, my God, that's abusive.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, you can see that Zerg doesn't have any, like, clear answer. And you know, when I first saw the Cyclone, which was at a BlizzCon like a million years ago, I remember thinking, huh, you know, it feels like with most units, it's hard to ever chase down. But when you see it in mass like that, and obviously we've had different patches and iterations of the game, but when you look at it like that, it's like, damn, yeah, when you're like Roach or Ling or Ravager, it's like the Cyclone sort of just answers that, doesn't it? When the Infestors come out, then you can maybe, if you get the catch, you can kind of close in on them. But what Solar was able to do is he was so overwhelming with his pushes that the Cyclones, even though they were basically trading way more efficiently, they had to retreat back into base, and then it was just the SCVs at the bases left out there. But can Solar pull that off again? I think he has to have an overwhelming lead again.
All right, let's go into game number 2. Solar leading 1-0 over Maru.
Okay. In the top right here is Solar. In the bottom left is Maru. And, first of all, that's exciting that Maru went for the Cyclone play style. But every day that passes in StarCraft 2, I want to see, are we going to get more and more and more Cyclones? Because the Cyclone stuff, and GuMiho's been doing this for a long time, right? We've had games where he does this, and occasionally a Terran will come out with some kind of wonky opener with this. But yeah, I mean, it does feel like at least the consensus out here is that that's a rare Maru card there. Nice. It does seem like the consensus right now is starting to become like, well, this is a really good way to play the game. We love you back. Thank you. 10-year Maru fan.
That's dedication right there.
Well, you're going to be going on to year 11 here. If he can keep the Cyclone stuff up. Yeah, it's just interesting to see. I'm kind of rambling here. It's interesting to see all of the Terran players start to lean into this a little bit more. And even though Maru lost with that, it still looked so good.
Yeah, and I also wonder how much this is Maru doing that build against Solar because he knows how much Solar hates it.
Yo, that's a really good point, actually, because Solar's been more vocal in complaining about Cyclones than any other.
Rightfully so, honestly.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, Solar is he's not shy about his opinions when it comes to the Cyclone right now. And so for Maru to bust that out, knowing that it's something that's been a point of contention with Solar in the past, and it might be able to get under your opponent's skin a little bit here. I like that in a game number 1, but it makes me think that more likely than not here in game number 2 and game number 3, we're probably going to see Maru go back to his bread and butter, because although the Cyclone play is very good in TBZ, let's not forget that the hero of this story in GSL Season 1 was the fast 3cc 8 racks play, right?
Right.
I mean, that has gotten so much damage done, partly because Terrans are just honing in more on these timing attacks because the Ghost is worse in the late game with a higher supply.
Yeah, I mean, Terran has really been incentivized to kill early on versus try to drag the game out.
Yeah, and with Zerg early game also being nerfed a little bit, the fact that Queens cost extra minerals right now, and so their economy is just a little bit slower in terms of tempo, things are lining up much better for these kind of early, well, I say early game, these 3cc pushes on 8 Raxes, which really have their sights set on ending the game relatively quickly as opposed to playing something like an exhaust play. We do have that 3rd command center coming down. Time is going to tell whether this will be another reiteration of Cyclone Hellion, or if Maru is going to be going towards something a little bit more standard fare for his playstyle of TVZ, the 8 Rax.
Doesn't look like you can see the Overlord over here for this one. A lot of similarities, by the way, in the way this game's looking right now. 4 Marines moving out on the map. Hellions being produced in pairs. A 3rd command center started. Perhaps 2 more factories about to be thrown down here. I mean, Maru may just be trying to literally just recycle the build from game 1 and bring it into game 2, only do it a little bit better.
It's possible. Eyes on the production tab, waiting to see if he throws down an armory for the Hellbat transformation. Hasn't built it just yet. Instead, it's going to be double engineering bay. So similar looking opening from Solar's perspective. This very easily could be the same build as last game with the 2 Hellions, with the 4 Marine move out, but in fact is going to be bioplay from Maru.
So this is going to be, yeah, kind of the stuff we're used to seeing. What GuMiho sort of tried to do in the last game that he played, but I think Maru is really the best in the world at this.
Oh, for sure.
Over the complete history of the game. I think Clem is phenomenal at it as well, but yeah, in Korea, I don't feel like anybody does it better than Maru.
Yeah, certainly within the history of GSL, he's
yeah.
Nobody really holds a candle to the macro bio of Maru, and even in GSL Season 1, we saw some pretty crazy situations. Is actually these Lynx going to get a pretty good surround right now. Good service area.
This is so real value to just come in here and take this out. I mean, you're trying to accumulate enough Marines to where you have this bio ball that's going to be pretty scary. Gets in the main, sees a 3rd CC. that was a big win here. Lings are the most expendable unit in the game, and you might think, see that and think, well, then aren't Marines, the second most expendable unit? Well, not really, because Marines are trying to stim and kite the whole time. So to take that out early on is really, really big.
Yeah, you want a critical mass of those Marines early on.
Yeah.
Ideally with like the first 2 medevac drops, right? But
sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice win for Solar early on, especially with this hatchery going down. I don't think
how many Hellions do you need to snowball the damage downward? I guess.
More than that.
Yeah. Not, 6 is apparently not. Maybe 8 or something?
I think 6 if the Zerg allows them to wail on it forever, could probably do it. But to realistically kill it before the queens come in, I think 7 or 8.
There's always this funny moment where you see a hatchery or like a Protoss building start to warp in. And you're like, if you know the right number of units, then you can actually just spike the damage down and kill it as it starts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 6 not quite the number there for Maru as more bears get thrown down.
By the way, somebody tweeted at me, it's 6 Yamato shots to kill a command center, just so we all know.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wait until GuMiho plays another TVT and we'll get to use that knowledge. By the way, Maru with a really fast armor, he's going to be going into 2-2 real quickly here, and he has been a master of these scrappy situations. Should the game go down this path where Solar plays a really aggressive style again, if he cuts workers right now around 70 drones and just goes gung-ho with the Roaches, the Ravagers, the Lings, as we have seen him do in the past, Maru has been exceptionally gifted at surviving on 3 command centers, potentially even lifting that 3rd CC back into the main and waiting until 3-3 finishes as a win condition here against the Lair Tech Zerg, as this attack is commencing with a few less Marines than Maru would hope, and that's going to mean that he's going to have to retreat very quickly here, despite 1-1 being done.
Now imagine that those Marines had not been killed. How much more sustain, how much more firepower he would have had. He maybe could have created a threat over there. Now, whenever you see a push fail like that, there's always that moment the Terran's like, well, let's throw something in a medevac and try to jettison it out to a different part of the map and try to do damage there. Looks like Solar's already prepared for that. Man, that Hellbat morph can be painfully long. So he manages to save just 1. Now, Terran's throwing down bunkers. I think, after an attack like that, you're going to be a little bit concerned of a counterattack. We know that Roaches are being made. We know that 1-1's about to finish. These bunkers are going to finish in the nick of time, but the question is going to be, can he hold on? Now, remember, the dynamic of the defense for Terran is different. This is a classical Terran composition, not a, a Cyclone kiting defensive position here. So it's going to really be about, can the Marines stim and kite? He's actually going to pull SCVs here as well.
Pulling them to the front line.
Defensively pulling the boys.
Right, Siege Tank getting set up as the second set of rocks is going to fall here at the ramp, and now Solar setting up for the arc, says it's time to go, and he pushes in. SCVs doing a good job of absorbing the first initial shots, as these Marines, the upgrades are very even, so they're not trading as efficiently as Maru would like. Focus fire on the Roaches with that Siege Tank, trying to find value. The Vials now finally just barely out of range of that Siege Tank. It feels like Solar just has almost enough. Is he doing it? There's no more Roach Crunch line here for these Ravagers, so the Marines getting some really good DPS. 2-2 nearing completion. We have a handful of Marines, 5 Marines in a medevac, as finally the 3rd base is going to lift up, but with 2-2 done now. For Maru, these reinforcing Marines, they're going to have a lot more potential, but
oh, man, I think
that's a lot of Ravagers tasteless.
Yeah, I think that Maru's in a lot of trouble right now. I don't know how many tanks are actually behind the wall over here. Okay, he's got 2, but they're not sieged up. Now, we were talking about this in previous games, but it's finally becoming a factor here. The infrastructure here at the entrance like this means the tech lab and the reactor are going to be killed off here. The tanks are well placed, and somehow the barracks actually gets to land. That's kind of crazy to me. But, gosh, if he just kills that depot, I guess it doesn't really matter. He's going to get in no matter what. I think this is GG. Wow, Solar going to defeat Maru here 2-0. GG. By the way, ZVZ and then TVT today. No full-on TVZ day.
Man, Solar with that push in game 2. 2-0 win over Maru. We've had some real interesting series. In my opinion, 2 upsets.
Yeah, this is not the results I was expecting. I feel like we've done GSL for so long now. I think it's completely reasonable for myself or you or a lot of us to kind of be like, oh yeah, well, Maru probably beats Solar, right? And then with the success GuMiho has had, and Rogue was gone for a while, right? That maybe GuMiho would beat Rogue, but here we are. It's going to be these two Zerg players duking it out, both giving each other a friendly little jab, a little punch there in the shoulder, taking down the Terran scum. And that means they're going to be duking it out in a little bit, guys. We'll be right back with Solar versus Rogue.